Hi everyone, Greg Philps here. I'd like to present my solution to Enterprise DNA problem of the week number 11 on balancing projects. A common situation I think that almost everyone will encounter in their work life is to be presented with a number of options for handling scope changes in a project. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the project management triangle, where we see scope, time, and cost on the sides and quality in the middle. If quality must remain the same, which I think is more than likely, then every change in one side of the triangle will result in changes to one or both of the other sides of the triangle. Or, in project terms, an increase in scope will result in an increase in the time required to complete the project or its cost, or both. In this example, we're going to analyze three possible scenarios for handling project scope increases. Namely, do we do nothing and pay any late fees that might be associated with the project? Second, do we add staff to have more people to do the work in the same time? Or do we add overtime, where we increase the hours of the existing staff? Okay, so let's switch over to Power BI and go through my solution. I've created a brand new PBIX file and loaded a simple title text box. I've also loaded a script of tasks into a notes page to refer to as we go along. So the first thing I want to do is I want to load the CSV files for projects and for holidays. So I'll go to transform data. We'll do new source, text CSV, and I'll pick the projects.csv file. We see that comes in with one blank row at the top. So first thing I'll do is remove the top row, remove one top row, and then I'm going to use the first row as headers. So that's good. As well, our goal is to use as few columns as necessary. So I'm going to deselect the project key column as we don't need it. I'm also going to take into account the fact that we're only looking for the infrastructure upgrade project. So I'm going to filter out, include only that project in my table. That's number one. Great. Okay, so let's get the holidays now. Again, text CSV, and this time we'll get the holidays in. And we see there are a few more blank rows for this one. Once again, I'll remove the top 4 rows. And then once again, promote the first row as headers. So those are in there, perfect. And next thing we'll do is I'll create a blank query and grab the Enterprise DNA extended date table. I do have actually that code here very quickly for us to make it a little faster. So I'm going to cut that and paste it. Whoops, sorry. And there we go. So let's create a dates table, 2021, 01, 01, whoops, sorry. Always use full years when you're creating your dates table. We are going to reference the holidays that we just loaded as well, so I'm going to choose from the holidays table. I'm going to choose the date column and then invoke the function. So there we go. I'm going to rename the invoked function dates. Whoops, sorry, caps lock. I'm going to rename the query to FX dates query, and we'll go back to the dates table. Once again, we were asked in this problem to only include the minimum amount of data as we can. So I'm going to choose columns. I'm going to deselect everything, and I'm going to choose just the date and the is business day column. That's all we really need. I actually am going to add a couple others just for the fun of it for us to see as we're going through here. So day of week name and is holiday, and is business day, I think. Or the other ones. Yep, there we go. So that's more than enough. So that's a little bit extra data, but still better than we had before. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start moving my tables into groups. So I'm going to add projects into a data model group. And I'll add the dates table into that data model group as well. I'm going to add holidays into a supporting tables group. Sorry, I'm having trouble spelling today. And I'm going to add the dates query into a parameters and functions groups. Perfect. So let's close and apply on that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go into model view here, and I see I have my dates table. I like the new layout, so I'll move that dimension table to the top right. I'll move my supporting table for holidays down to the bottom, and I'll move my fact table down to the middle of the table. I'm going to drag a relationship between the date column and the start date column. I see the Power BI has started that. It was 1-to-1 because we have a very small amount of data. I actually don't want that to be 1-to-1. I want that to be a 1-to-many, and I want its direction to be single. Oh, there we go. I'm also going to add a placeholder table to get us started for a place to store our measures. So as for standard, we have a key measures table, and just to check once that's been added to the model, sorry, just waiting a second, we see that that comes in here, so we'll just move that to the right, whereas that's a good layout that we like in Enterprise DNA. So the next thing I want to do once I do have my dates table in here is I want to mark it as such. So I click on the table title over here in fields, go to table tools and mark as date table, and a dialog will come up where I can select the column that contains the date. The next thing I want to do is I want to go back into transform data, and I want to add a new parameter for the source folder. I'm going to just give it that name. I try and choose one of two layouts, the syntaxes. I choose not to use any spaces or underscores in my parameters here, and then I can use underscores when I do separate words in my M code, which makes it easy for me to tell which is which. So let's just leave a text value, and we'll leave this as ctemp/potw11. Whoops, I spelled that wrong. Okay. And I see that I not only spelled it wrong, but I actually have the wrong things here. There we go, that's better. All right. The next thing I need to do is I need to go into the advanced editor for my projects and my holidays tables, and I need to modify them to use the parameter that I just created. So I'm going to increase, I have the code copied onto my snippet list here. I'm going to copy this in, and we'll see what it does here. Alright, so what I'm doing, I don't have a zoom here unfortunately. I have created a parameter for the source folder, and you can see I do use an underscore here, so I know it's a little bit different. I'm looking to see whether the last character, text.end, of the value that I've entered is a backslash. If it is, then I just use it. If not, I add a backslash. Once I have that, I'm going to change out this section of the reference to my file. I'm going to add, I think this is again where I like to use the underscores because it makes it very easy for me to select the right one. So we've done that for the projects table. Now let's do the same thing for the holidays table. Once again, holidays table advanced editor. I'm going to paste in the same code for the source folder. I'm going to delete everything in front of holidays.csv, and I'll add into the front source folder. Oops, sorry. Having trouble with my typing here. There we go. Whoops. Sorry, grabbed the wrong one again. And it is case sensitive, so let's make sure that's right. Perfect. Okay. We have that done now. And close and apply. So now we'll create a what if parameter for the scope percent change. So I'll go to modeling and new parameter. I'm going to call it scope percent change. And it's right now a whole number. I'm going to make it go from 0.05, sorry, 0.05 to 1. And its increment is going to be 0.05. I guess I can't leave that as a whole number. We will make it a decimal number, and then we're all set. Here. So scope. Oh, sorry, I selected add slicer to page as well. Good thing to remember. Let me just grab it here. Whoops, I'm having difficulty grabbing it. Apologies. Let's just grab that and move that up into the corner. And we see that we've got the slicer here. Oh, it's not coming out as a percentage, so let's go to data view and scope percent change. And we'll change the value from decimal number, we'll change it to percentage format here. And we'll give it 0 decimal places. So there we go. Now let's zip back over to the project here. Now we do actually see a percent in there, but actually something I noticed as well, when you use decimal type, it doesn't go right to the end. One of the ways we can fix this is to come back to here and we change all these to currency. And I'm not sure exactly why, but anyway, it does work. So there we go, and 100 shows up. So now when we go back over here to the slider, we can see our value changes all the way to 100. So we got 5 to 100 there, perfect. And just because it's one of my preferences, I'm going to throw the shadow on here for the fun of it. Okay, next thing I can do is add a project table onto the canvas, and I will drag in the project name, the start date, and the due date. And I will give that table a title. I see as well that the date format is not what I want, so I'm going to switch over to data view, and I'm going to go into my projects table, and for start date I'm going to change, whoops, sorry, I didn't manage to get it, projects table. I'm going to change the start date format to dd/mmm/yyyy, and I'll do that for the due date column as well. And now when I flip back over here, we'll see that I am getting the correct format displayed form as I want. So perfect. Okay, I'm going to throw a shadow onto that one as well for the fun of it, and we'll make it a little bit wider. Perfect. Now I'm going to create a bunch of measures. I won't display that. I will pause the video and restart again when the measures are ready. Okay, so I have some measures created now. We'll start to add them in to the project table. So the first thing I'm going to do is add in my base values. I'll add in base cost, base hours, base days, and actually I'm going to take out base cost. I'll add in base days, base hours, and base staff. I see I need to do a little bit of work here on the table here, so let's turn off totals to start with. Makes things a little bit better. Now let's do a little bit of formatting. We'll format price as a currency with 0 decimal places. We'll format days as a whole number with a separator. We'll format hours with as a whole number with a separator, and we'll format base staff as a whole number with a separator. Perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is add the scenario hours, which I have here as just the base. Sorry, let's just zoom this a little bit so we can see a bit better. Just takes measure branching off the base hours measure and multiplying that by 1 plus the scope change value that we got from our what if parameter. So when I add that in here, we'll see that the scenario hours, that shouldn't be coming out as a currency, that should be coming out just as a whole number. So we see that that is responsive to the scenario percentage change, 100% change, double the hours, etc. So just for the fun of it, just so we can see it, I'm going to add in the incremental hours measure, which is again simply measure branching the scenario hours minus the base hours. And again, it seems to have come in as a currency data type. We'll change that to whole number. I can see that I'm starting to run out of room here, so I'm just going to slightly move the values here and give me a little bit more room to play with. And the next thing we'll add in is the late penalty cost, which as a measure is simply the maximum of the late penalty fee for the project. We'll bring that in here. Next thing we're going to, that's a cost, so that again needs to be a currency. Perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is add in my 3 different scenarios into this table. So scenario 1, as we can see, is just base plus paying the penalty. Simple measure branching, base cost plus late penalty cost. Scenario 2 is add staff. So again, it's just measure branching off of base cost and adding the staff cost as well. And scenario 3 is to base cost plus adding overtime costs. So we're just adding those 3 together. So I'm going to add that in as well. And once again, we'll see I'm running out of space here, so let's get my measures over here. Actually, I think there's one I need to take out to make everything fit. Sorry, this is still a little challenging. I think I'm going to take out the incremental hours measure and give us a bit more room. Okay, so I see my 3 scenario measures are not quite formatted right, so I'll just change them up to currency and 0 decimal places. I'll do that for scenario 2 as well. Change it to currency and 0 decimal places. Sorry, did I say 2 for the other one? I meant 0. And let's see where else can I make a little bit more room here. Base days, base cost. Whoops, I can't really change that. Okay. As well, I'm going to do the next thing in this table that I want to do, which is determine which is actually the minimum. So the next thing I'm going to do is add in a minimum cost measure, and I'm simply doing that as a cascade of 2 minimums. I'm returning the minimum of scenario 1 and scenario 2, And to that, I'm checking the minimum of the result of that with scenario 3. So I will get the minimum cost for all 3 of those scenarios. I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but this was the easiest way for me. So let's add the minimum cost in there. We can see that that is actually the minimum cost for the 3. And once again, we'll change that to currency. Whoops, currency data type. And 0 decimal places. And just for the fun of it, I do have a minimum scenario measure as well. It simply uses the switch true logic to compare all the various alternatives that might be present for one scenario being less than the other, or for more than one scenario being equivalent. So I'm just going to add that into the table as well, just as a check, so we can see. Actually, let me move that a little bit here so we can see it a bit better. Perfect. All right, so we see actually scenario 3 is the preferred scenario for a 15% scope change. As we change up to 25%, we can see that there's actually 2 scenarios, scenario 1 and scenario 3, that result in the same amount of, the same minimum cost. If we go up to scenario 45%, we can see that S1 now becomes the preferred option. So let's move it back to 25 here, and we'll take a new table here to try and look at all of the various percentages. So I'm going to start by creating a new table, and I'm going to drag into that our scope change percentage. I see just one value, so here's the next thing we need to do. Is we need to change the interactions between the slicer and this visual. So I'm going to come up here and select this visual, go to Format, Edit Interactions, and I see what the options of filtering or none on this table. I'm actually going to check none for that. I'll turn off Edit Interactions now, and now we can see that regardless of what I select in this table, the bottom table does not change. So I'm going to just do a quick little bit of formatting on this one. I'll give it the title of Scenarios. And we'll turn the shadow on as well. Perfect. To the scenarios table, I'm going to start adding some of my measures. I'll add my base hours. I'll add my scenario hours. I'll add my incremental hours. And once again, we'll just change these onto the headers onto 2 rows to try and save a little bit of space. Come on, you can do it. There we are. Now we'll add in the base cost, and we will add in the late penalty cost as well, and then we'll start adding in our scenarios. We'll add scenario 1, scenario 2, and scenario 3. Again, just a second to format these so that they don't take up quite so much space. There we go. So now we'll add in the minimum cost and minimum scenario measures that we used earlier as well. And we can see that we do have some more information that we can glean from this analysis. What we're looking at here in the scenarios table is we can see that scenario 3 is the preferred scenario we get up to a 25% scope change. After that, we do see that scenario 1 seems to be the preferred option, the lowest cost option. So scenario 3 is adding overtime. Overtime seems to be what is the lowest cost, up to 25%, and after 25%, the lowest cost thing is to do nothing and pay the penalty for the project. So anyway, that's my solution, and I hope you like it, and I hope there was something in it that you found useful, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Hey everyone, Thanks for tuning in to Enterprise DNA TV. If you enjoyed the content covered in this particular tutorial, please throw the video a like. It really helps us and we really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Enterprise DNA TV channel. We have a huge amount of content coming out all the time from myself and a range of content creators, all dedicated to improving the way that you use Power BI and the Power Platform. Lastly, check out Enterprise DNA's website. Plenty of resources and further learning that you can access very easily. All the best. Take care.